Hi, everybody, and good afternoon here from Phoenix, where we're having our pre-full moon webinar in Sagittarius. This is in preparation for the coming full moon broadcast, which Tuya will give, and that is on the just after midnight GMT on the 14th. So that's the exact time of the full moon is 12:05 and 29 seconds AM GMT, and it will start actually on the 13th GMT at 10:35. So I hope you'll be able to join us for that. And yes, so here we go. And if I have an occasional cough here, please excuse me. The Phoenix air is not entirely agreeing with me. I'll just do the best I can. So here we have the banner with the words of power connected with the spiritual aspect. That which is connected with the non-spiritual aspect is kind of interesting. It's the attitude of the hunter. It's simply let food be sought. Well, maybe a lot of Sagittarians know about that one. But this is the higher mantram. I see the goal, I reach that goal, and then I see another. So there is this onward quest leading via one antakarana after another. Both Sagittarius and Gemini have a lot to do with building the antakarana, and the long distance travel to other starry systems is, in a way, in terms of our system, ruled by the outward bound attitude of Sagittarius. Eventually, higher prototypes of Sagittarius will take over, because, Sagittarius, in a way, is a very local thing. It has to do with our local cosmos, even though it's very great within our local cosmos. It is not going to carry us to the absolute central point of the universe, beyond all galaxies and so forth. So higher prototypes will do that, but it's the same kind of impulse, the outward bound impulse, which is returning to the goal from which emanatively we all went forth long ago, and seem to repeat that whole process forever. Every time there's a universe, we stay at home, yes, but we at the same time paradoxically go forth into reduction of scope. We go forth emanatively into a reduction of scope, and become very confined little beings until we begin to awaken to our true origin and then return. So in a way, Sagittarius rules, even for the masters, the way of higher evolution, which begins at the sixth initiation at this time. For us, we have the soul in sight, and we have the antakarana leading to the triad, and eventually we have the monad, which is also connected with Sagittarius through the pilgrimage that it makes down into matter. But that's how Sagittarius works for us. For higher beings, it works in still more exalted ways. Well, here is the Jafra illustration. Not all of the esoteric aspects of it come through, but the great archer, and of course, in one way he would be the centaur, but later he becomes something greater. He becomes a true human being, and eventually he simply becomes the bow and then the arrow of spirit. But he is lighting his arrow at that which the deity sends forth. We might say that his arrow will fly into the heavens, the arrow of aspiration, and it will return as the arrow of intuition. But really, finally, it's the arrow of spirit, and it did really come forth from, well, here's an illustration of kind of a deity, but from the one and only deity in our vast cosmos, the universal logos. So Sagittarius is a sign of return, and it's a sign of the intuition which speeds us on our way. You know, the idea of the wings is very, very strong, strongly connected with Mercury and the intuition, and Sagittarius too has the idea of the wings on the heels. So it's not always the centaur who is shooting that arrow, as illustrated here, but it is oftentimes the disciple who has overcome the bestial part of himself or herself and is standing ready to really ascend into true discipleship and initiation. In a way, it's the sign which rules the first two initiations and prepares the way for the third, and then later it grows in power and is connected with the sixth initiation. It's a sign that goes beyond distortions, the distortions of illusion. We have often understood that the illusions to which we are prone, are dispelled by the intuition, not necessarily by the mind, the clear beam of mind, the way glamours are dissipated, but in fact the illusions which Sagittarius learns to see through are seen through because it is one of the intuitive signs, and great leaps of intuition are possible for those who are influenced by this sign. It is a sign given to the search for truth, and we do see kind of a hermetic figure here in the background. It is a hermit with a it reminds me, was it Diogenes who was going around with a lamp in broad daylight and a lit lamp, and they asked him, well, what are you doing? And he says, well, I'm looking for an honest man. That must have been a truly Sagittarian influence there. The seeking after truth. Of course, in the beginning, you know, Sagittarius can fly off in all directions and tell many fish tales, and they're no great friend of accuracy, but exaggeration can be there. But later, silence and the search for truth enter. And it is a sign, interestingly, which is so connected at first with noise and then with profound silence in which the truth can be revealed. So this is the search for truth which the hermit, he's a bit more of a Virgo character, you might say, is conducting in the background. But let's just say the Sagittarian types, once they reach a certain stage of evolution, they do aim high, and they want to overarch and go beyond all of the veils and illusions to which we are subject, and this leads, of course, to initiation. So it's a sign very much aiming at preparation for the third initiation. And maybe if you have a horoscope where there's prominent Sagittarius followed by Capricorn, you'll see a possible transition there to the third initiation, but also to the second as well, even to the first, as Capricorn is ruling initiation in all 5 of the normal initiatory levels leading up to mastership. So, you know, Joffre's done a wonderful job here. He can't possibly include everything, but he gives us a very inspiring view, oftentimes, of the inner nature of these signs, and they have a lot of the old alchemy connected with them. You know, maybe someday someone will come along and do the, you know, illustrations of a comparable quality which take into consideration what Master Decay has given us. The rulers of Sagittarius, well, it's kind of interesting because there's only a few signs where non-sacred planets are the hierarchical rulers. For instance, Pisces is ruled by Pluto in a hierarchical sense, and this sign is ruled by Mars in a hierarchical sense, and one of the truly sacred planets takes up the orthodox position, and that is Jupiter. But here we have, of course, the expansion of the range and of the consciousness and of the scope and of the horizon in Jupiter, and a planet of true vision, which can go beyond the ordinary rings pass not. Then the Earth is the esoteric ruler, and it tells us that we have to work hard to make of the Earth a sacred planet, and that we have to make sacred the very Earth of which we are composed, in terms of our bodily and our personality nature. And finally, with Sagittarius, there's the reorientation of all of the lunar vehicles within us towards their higher destiny, when from elemental lives they are gradually transformed into Davic lives. So it's Mars is indicating a keen sort of transformational aspiration and a burning ground which leads to initiation. Now, let's see if I'm trying to figure out what I've got here. I think Francis has some beautiful images here. Well, this is an earlier image, and we see again the high aiming of the Sagittarius, and he's on the white horse, like the Kalki avatar. And there has been a purification that has occurred as a result of the struggles in Scorpio. So because of the purification, it's no longer a black horse, a brown horse, whatever. He can travel fast upon the way, upon the plains of Earth, as it were. The horse is maybe not so equipped for climbing as is the goat, but he can make his way at least to the base of the mountain, whichever it happens to be. And here we have the same kind of idea as in the Jafra illustration. There's a beam coming from the heavens, and it is a divine beam, and the according to his aspiration, the archer is shooting along that beam, expecting a return of intuitive revelation. Perhaps this image captures the story of Hercules the best way. Here is our aspiring archer steadily aiming. Now, interesting, there's a star there in Sagittarius. I think it's a Rukbat, something like that. And it means steadiness of stance. And the archer has to have not a nervous or a moving kind of stance as he aims towards his target, but great steadiness while he takes his aim. But what he's really aiming at here is the initiatory possibility, which is shown by the light on top of the mountain of initiation. He's still pretty far away. He's in the sort of in the swamps a little bit, and surrounding him are the all the birds, which represent the many thought forms which don't particularly help us get to our goals. As a matter of fact, they are the illusions that prevent us from participating in the reality of initiation. So in a way, he has to get rid of these birds, and you know the story. They make such a racket, that they drown out all possibility of understanding in the silence the deeper initiatory possibilities. But he kind of crashes these symbols together, and it banishes the birds. And the symbols represent a type of inclusive sound, which leads us to an appreciation in our vision of wholeness. And then all these fragmentary thought forms are driven away. It would be quite useless for him to try to shoot all those birds. It's not going to work. He needs something much more encompassing and global, and he manages with this tremendous sound of the symbols. And so again, this is a sign in which issues of sound and silence are very much to the fore. And then, of course, once the birds are vanished or banished, then he can see his road ever more clearly, and he doesn't only have to cross the waters, he has to cross the level land, and aiming towards the third degree with its sense of direction and science and integration, he makes rapid progress. So, we are all the aspirants, and all of us are aspirants, no matter what degree we stand. Even the Christ is an aspirant to some higher Syrian possibility. So we never lose sight of our aspiration and what it takes of fire to get us there. I seek the way I yearn to know, visions I see, and fleeting deep impressions. Beyond the portal on the other side lies that which I call home, for the circle hath been well nigh trod, and the end approaches the beginning. I seek the way all ways my feet have trod. The way of fire calls to me with fierce appeal. Naught in me seeks the way of peace, naught in me yearns for earth. Let the fire rage, the flames devour, let all the dross be burnt, and let me enter through that gate. See, Sagittarius is the guardian of the gate. Let me enter through that gate and tread the way of fire. So the burning ground is particularly associated with this sign, at least in the beginning, and maybe some kind of burning ground which liberates the monad for its great journey. Here from Francis is also a picture of kind of how thought forms originate, and we see the different spheres. Things are originating from a very, very high monadic source into a Buddhic source, and finally becoming less and less through all the various planes. And let's just say that Sagittarius is involved with the correct creation of truthful thought forms. So the truth is, Sagittarius is a sign of freedom, right? Don't fence me in. The Sagittarian types likes its scope. And then the famous statement in the Bible, the truth will set you free. So those two things go closely together. There's a lot that Francis has written on these different images that he's produced, and they're very good, and I just suggest, I think that they're available to everybody, and we put them into the chat box occasionally, so maybe we can give you where you go to pick up the text that Francis has written here, but I decided this time that I would and not be reading from the text, but just give an overall kind of explanation. But he's done a wonderful service for us, putting into evocative images so much that helps us understand the nature of the sign. Okay, friends. So let us now go to our meditation. And I promised my wife I would not speak very fast. You know how it is. Sagittarius is sometimes an arrhythmic sign, which tends towards speeding, a pedal to the metal, the Sagittarian driver, with the pedal to the metal. So I'll try to just keep things calm here. And, we're still at least 24 hours away from the actual full moon, but we can intensify our orientation towards the light, and if we ever have to clarify the direction in which we are going and why we're doing it, and the steps we must take, this is the time to do it. How the Tibetans said every month you would work with a particular sign and you would build its qualities into your nature, and by that, of course, it means not only your personality, you're building its qualities into the causal body. And every one of the 12 petals of the egoic lotus is connected particularly with one sign, and yet in a way with all of them. So there's a whole study of the development of the human being according to the unfoldment of the egoic lotus and the astrology and rheology which is involved in each type of unfoldment. And I've got that in a video book, and one of our strong helpers is posing it into written form. So those of you who prefer to study in that way, you can study that way, or you can listen to the video. But we're very grateful for the effort that she is undertaking, and for all such efforts which make the teaching more easily communicated, because that's our job now. Sagittarius is the great communicator of the teaching. I can't help but notice that Alice Bailey died in Sagittarius, and she was a Gemini, so she died in exactly the opposite sign. And I keep on thinking what that may mean for the dissemination of the teaching in her next incarnation. So we're in this day of dedication, dedicating the mind to the truth, and before long, 12 hours before the actual full moon, we'll be in the day of safeguarding, where we're receiving and holding the energies, and then finally the days of distribution on all three levels of the personality. All right, so let us proceed. So we link up with each other. There are some, 60-something of us here. A good group offering itself to prepare the way for the full moon. And on the various continents, but it doesn't matter so much where we are. Physically, we're united in our one-pointed intention. This, of course, is a Sagittarian theme, to reflect these higher energies and distribute them into human consciousness. So, in whatever way you choose to do it, withdraw your consciousness from the personality and its vehicles. This is frequently done with the Raja Yoga formula. I have a body, but I am not that body. I have emotions, but I am not those emotions. I have the mind, the lower mind, but I am not that collection of thought forms and processes. What am I then? And I am the soul, the consciousness, in a way the disembodied consciousness, in terms of the personality at least. So we enter then into the presence of that presence called the soul. We enter together, imagining a group consciousness that we will call the group soul. And we feel ourselves established as a soul within the field of light and love and spiritual power. And we can envision this. It's like one area of sensory experience fades out and another more subtle area fades in, and that's what we're aware of. So we merge ourselves as a soul into a deep sense of the present group soul. And that's one consciousness, and it really unites us. There are no real barriers between us in the state of soul, and we are within one consciousness, though the apertures of vision are many, still it's one consciousness. And imaginatively, we unite in soul, with the spiritually minded people of the world, let's call them the new group of world servers, or those who are almost members of that group, and also uniting with the men and women of goodwill all over the world, uniting not in personality but in the light, in soul. And we visualize our group soul and the soul of all the servers and the men and women of goodwill merging into the one soul of all humanity. It doesn't make any difference what is the quality of the personality. All of that will come along and be developed in time, but there is one soul of all humanity, and it should increasingly become a reality to us. And we realize that there is essentially no my soul and thy soul, as we're told in the fifth rule for disciples and initiates in rays and initiations. But in fact, if we could really realize it, the mantram, the ancient mantram on the second ray, naught is but me, capital M for me, something inclusive of all the little me's. Naught is but me. And our normal sense of personality distinction is absorbed into that greater me and is blotted out, is negated in that sense of greater identity. We have a point of focus on the mental plane, the mental unit of the group, and we feed that, as it were, imaginatively with aspects of the soul will, the seven-ray aspects of soul will, which we could all use and must use: the will to initiate, the will to unify, the will to evolve, the will to harmonize, the will to act, the will to cause, and the will to express. And all of these are related to soul qualities of the seven rays. So as a group we absorb these aspects of soul will, and we're uniting group soul and group personality by doing this. Probably you can feel the soul presence at this time. It's a definite energy. And each one of us, we are building the Antakarana, not just in one life, but over a number of lives, the Rainbow Bridge. And DK tells us to think of it as individually, as if it has two colors: the color of the soul ray and the color of the personality ray. Now, we may not be exactly certain what they are, but if not, we use the indigo color of the second ray. So there on the screen are the seven colors we can use. try to visualize this now. This antikarana is going to, as it were, pass through the triadal permanent atoms on which the triadal vehicles will gradually be formed, coordinated at the third degree and beyond, and lead all the way to the point of spirit on the monadic plane, which we can kind of visualize as a blue-white light. So that's really how far our antikarana at this stage is intended to extend. And really we have all the different colors here in the group. Personalities on all the different rays, even though the majority may be second ray or first ray souls. Found, in occult groups, it is at this time a majority of second or first ray souls. But somehow all the 7 colors are there in our group, and we get that imaginative sense of our group with the antikaranas rising cone-like through the triad and touching the point of pure being, which is the monad. It is an instrument for invocation and evocation. And we're going to imagine all those colors, but send forth a radiant, rapier-like beam of white light towards the very peak. And we're going to inwardly think the great second ray word of power. I see the greatest light. We'll inwardly think that. And outwardly, we will sound the Om 3 times as we attempt to, as a group, come en rapport with the higher aspects of our nature which inspire us. So inwardly, you pronounce the word of power. Outwardly, you sound the Om. Really, for us, the greatest light is of Shambhala. It's called unfettered enlightenment. The triad is an outpost of the monad and Shambhala, and we have every expectation, acting as if, that the lights of will, wisdom, and mind will descend into our consciousness, and we will be inspired and illumined by the returning arrow, as it were. So we are connected now then with the, at least imaginatively, with the higher aspects of our nature. And in these higher aspects, this is the Master's focus in consciousness, triadal focus. They have transcended the levels at which our consciousness normally is focused. And they are our elder brothers, and indeed they are brothers, and we will offer our salutations and our intentions to cooperate with them as they attempt to help the divine plan manifest on earth. So we offer our heartfelt gratitude to the Masters and to the head of the hierarchy of the Christ. Use your creative imagination to, as it were, see this happening. Salutations to the Christ, the Master of all masters, the teacher alike of angels and of human beings. Salutations to the triangle of masters with whom at this time we most closely work, the Masters M, K, H, and DK, and they form a triangle around the Christ. So one at a time then. Om. Salutations to the Master Morya, the head of all esoteric schools and organizations. Om. Salutations to the Master Kutumi. He is the coming Christ of the age of Capricorn, and now his ashram is most responsible for preparing for the reappearance of his brother, the Lord Maitreya, our present Christ. Om. Salutations to the Master Jwal Kul, who has given us the blue books and is responsible for imparting so much of the educative material coming out of the work of Master K.H. He trains aspirants for initiation. Om. Salutations to your own Master as you conceive him to be or know him to be. Om. Salutations to the entire spiritual hierarchy of our planet, all the ashrams, sub-ashrams, and the initiates in those ashrams. Salutations. We are all, in some sense, co-workers. And now we imaginatively raise our thought to Shambhala, the center where the will of God is known. And with deepest reverence and in all humility, we attempt, identified as a group soul, to attune with the presence, the will, the quality of the Lord of the world, Sanat Kumara, standing at the center of the highest center on our globe, Shambhala. And inwardly, as we are imagining this group contact, it has to be a group contact really, because even masters of the fifth degree cannot just go into Shambhala anytime they want. This is a question of receiving some little stream of purpose, of will, of plan, as a group. So we will sound a long, inward, silent Om as we imagine the group imbued with his energy, the energy of Sanat Kumara. Inward Om. And thus, increasingly, the will of our planetary God will be a governing factor in our lives. And one day we'll be able to fulfill the mantra, not my will, Father, but thine be done. We'll work our way up to that ability. Now, we imagine ourselves as a point, a vivid point of light, of love and power. It has being, it has consciousness, this point. But all the usual extensions into personality form are dropped, and we hover, as it were, imaginatively above the golden pathway which leads into the indigo sun, a great second-ray symbol related to our solar logos, the blue logos. And Master DK tells us to imagine this golden pathway shortening and shortening and shortening, and we will be moving with it as it is absorbed into the indigo sun, where we imagine that we meet his consciousness, a very learned consciousness in terms of the qualities of the planets and solar deities and constellations, and that we are together as a group forming a kind of outpost for the reception of the kind of understanding that Master DK's consciousness can give us when we begin to absorb it, even a little. So as this point of light, love and power, we are as if within the indigo sun, and as if aided by his profound consciousness and understanding in our approach to the planets and the stars. So there are 3 planetary rulers of the sign Sagittarius, and we bear them in mind. Jupiter, the exoteric ruler, conveying a vision of ever-expanding horizons, and the enthusiastic motivation to move beyond and through the limitations of our present personal and group ring past not. Great opportunity through Jupiter, and our little planet, the Earth. It's the esoteric ruler, very important to us, the base of the spine center of the solar logos, we are told. We think now of the Earth conveying the realization that our planetary sphere, not yet a sacred planet, must be spiritually enlivened until it becomes outwardly the sacred planet it already is, inwardly. And we have responsibility there to help make our Earth a sacred planet. And Mars. It's not a sacred planet, but it's the hierarchical ruler, and it conveys the zeal to redirect and elevate the tendency of the lunar lords that comprise our vehicles, elevating, redirecting through the power of aspiration. These are real energies, real planetary presences. They are powerful at this time, or should we say we can absorb them more readily at this time. So first we'll ponder on the power of Jupiter in relation to Sagittarius. What can it do for us and for our group? It can extend our vision of truth and reality. It can expand our consciousness to embrace an ever-widening ring past not. There's a lot of what Master DK does that is not only connected with Mercury, but with Jupiter as well. Expanding our vision and point of view, our perspective. So together we embrace the positivity of Jupiter as a real energy present now, its assurance of beneficial growth and eventual fulfillment. We try to realize the growing sense of all-inclusive wholeness, bringing all things together in wholeness, which Jupiter confers. So it's a big embrace of that which surrounds us, and realizing that all these fragments, fragmentary perceptions are just illusions, and there is a thoroughgoing, supportive, overarching wholeness in which we are living and moving and have our being. So we invite that Jupiterian stream of energy into our life, into our group, into our groups. It rules the heart center of the disciple, the expanding heart. So we embrace with our heart and also with our intuition that which surrounds us and see it as one. And we see these Jupiterian qualities, we need them flowing into our group and groups, and we all become, especially at this time, more imbued with these divine qualities, which we individually and as a group can radiate to other individuals and a group and their groups. It's like having Jupiter in the heart center, conveying a great vision for us. Jupiter, a planet of vision, and in the heart conveys a much greater vision than we usually have. So let's imagine that infusion of Jupiterian energy. We'll sound the Om on a Jupiterian note, it's a G, and feel it coming in and really influencing our individual life, our group, our groups. We'll feel the entry here. We've got to deal with these planets at these times as if they were living beings and as if their energies can truly enter our lives in more concentrated ways than they otherwise do. Then our beautiful little blue-green planet, the Earth, blue for the second ray, green for its third ray personality. The esoteric ruler of Sagittarius. And what can we accomplish coming in esoteric rapport with the Lord of the world and eventually with the planetary logos as a whole, seventh initiation, long time. But anyway, we can begin to redeem the etheric physical nature of both human beings and of our planetary globe. Earth is much connected with the ethers. We can revitalize these lesser and greater etheric vehicles in ways which disengage us and disengage them from the backward-leaning lunar, retrogressive lunar tendencies. We have to be free of the moon, and gradually the moon chain has already been replaced by the Saturn chain, but there's some kind of backward drag we have to be free from. So through the influences conveyed by the logos of our planet Earth, we try to realize in whatever measure our capacity to tread the path which will lead one day to the energetic glorification of our planet until it becomes outwardly a sacred planet. So we try to realize the Earth as a sacred heavenly temple in which spirit can find its embodiment in spiritually regenerated matter. We have a lot of matter that's not redeemed yet. It's coming from the moon chain, it's coming from the previous solar system, but it's on its way to redemption, and that's all the way from our own little vehicles of the personality to the larger conditions of the lower mental, astral, and etheric physical planes. So we will open our consciousness to impression, born upon the stream of energy emanating from our earth, the circle with the cross inside. And we will become adjudicators between the pairs of opposites. We will know the difference between soul and form, which often we don't know yet. And all of our efforts will be directed towards slowly making our planet a truly sacred planet. And this may take millions of years, but every little bit helps and counts. So where on our planet is purification most needed? We can imagine that, of course. We can't forget our little selves. But there are places where purification is really needed. And we meditate upon and pray for the purification of the personality of all members of the human race, and beyond that, the purification of the lower kingdoms as well, since we are the macrocosm for those lower kingdoms. And we'll sound an Om. We'll use, I'll use a G again because it's the soul ray of the earth, the second ray. And we'll watch those energies of purification and coming sacredness flow in to our lives and our groups and into humanity as needed. We have a great responsibility to the logos of this planet, and to Father Earth and Mother Earth we have a great responsibility. And when we fulfill the divine plan, we are carrying out in some small measure that responsibility. Now we move to come en rapport with the hierarchical ruler, the red planet, really red-orange, planet Mars. It's a sixth ray planet, but also lots of first ray and some fifth ray. We consider Mars as the planet stimulating the power of aspiration, a scientific method of elevation, until aspiration becomes transmutation and the uplifting into the spiritual aspect. We need Mars so much to reorient our desire nature away from lower material desire and towards the fire of the Spirit. We realize Mars is the planet driving the quest for ever new experiences of a reality lying beyond the present ring-pass-knot of consciousness. It's often self-immolation that makes this possible. It's a fiery planet, a lot of six-ray, elevatory immolation. That's what happens to the lunar nature until the lunar lords return much equipped to their place of waiting, and will be rising because of their contact with the human spirit. So we somehow realize how important Mars is, impelling towards the treading of the way of higher evolution, which leads the outward-bound monad towards its truer home in those distant constellations which form the chakras of our local cosmic logos, our local one about whom naught may be said. Mars can so easily be abused, just leading into conflict over the fulfillment of one's lower desires, but when it becomes valiant, when it becomes heroic, we as disciples, we all need it. And so we try to bring in the silence, Mars' higher qualities. Its more valiant, heroic, transcendent qualities. We all need this. It's like we can breathe in the red of Mars, but make sure that it serves higher purpose. We try to realize where we need this and where the world needs this. Changing conflict into a higher form of purposeful action. And as we absorb these qualities and become imbued with the strength of Mars, we inevitably convey this strength to our co-workers and those we serve. So we'll sound the Om, we'll do it on the red note, C, and absorb these potent qualities which can render us really energized, effective disciples. And during these next 24 hours, be cognizant of Jupiter, our Earth, and Mars. And when you breathe, realize that the energies of these beings are intensified at this time, and breathe them in and use them as part of your discipleship thought, your discipleship service. Now we will go even further, thinking of the great solar God. When we look in the sky, we see the sun. There is the outer expression of the great solar logos, the God of love, wisdom. Our God is a consuming fire. It's the fire of love and wisdom. We take the sun for granted, but Esoterically, it's amazing. And it pours its energy to all the planets via the various antikaranas, and with respect to our planet, through Shambhala, through every monad, every soul, every personality, every life on our planet Earth. We're in the great system of this heart center, our solar logos. Heart center in the local cosmic logos, the 7 solar systems of which ours is one. So not just the sun in the sky out there, but each one of us is a sun unit, as a spirit whose home is within the sun. We have to deepen our normal perceptions. And we'll get that feeling of being a ray of the sun, a monadic ray of the sun, sounding the note G, the second ray note, or a second ray note. It's all a great unification in all of us. Every life in this system is somehow an emanation of the sun, of the solar logos. Of course, beyond it as well, but for the time being, that's our place of centrality. And the sun embraces us all, the solar logos embraces us all. And then out towards the stars beyond our system, supported by the consciousness of Master DK, trying to understand more widely, of course, to the constellation Sagittarius. Actually very bright constellation when you can see it. Very beautiful. Radiating its peculiar quality of light. There is a lord of that constellation. There are solar logoi, but there's also a cosmic logos which informs the whole being of the assembled solar logoi. And so what about this light that we're coming in contact with? Sagittarian light. The Tibetan says, a beam of directed, focused light. Note those words, direction and focus. It is the point of light becomes the beam, revealing a greater light ahead, and illumining the way to the center of the light. I see the light, I reach that light, and then I see another. So at this time of potent Sagittarian energy, increasing in intensity towards the full moon, we open ourselves to the feel of the energy quality of Sagittarius. So closely related to the 4th ray of harmony through conflict, the 5th ray of concrete mind and science, and most intensively, to the 6th ray of devotion and idealism. Sagittarius, with its rays, with its light, and with the planets associated with it. It will always make us progressive, and we will always be a moving point of light, moving in a certain direction, with keen focus, moving onward, intensifying the light to which we are exposed, intensifying all those spiritual qualities as we move into them. So now we reach the point for some silence, and we'll be holding this mantra in our minds during the coming 24 hours. So we ponder. I see the goal. I reach that goal. Then I see another. I see the goal. I reach that goal. And then I see another. So take it deeply into consideration. I see the goal. I reach that goal. And then I see another. I see the goal. I reach that goal. And then I see another. We will carry this mantra through the hours ahead. It speaks of a constant movement, progress, intensification of the light, or the other divine aspects, moving into ever more intense demonstrations of divinity. That's our destiny. And Sagittarius is a great sign of destiny. We keep moving until the emanative outgoing is completely retracted and we return from whence we came. I see the goal. Maybe it's different for each one of us. I reach that goal. And then I see another. And so the last word of spiritual revelation is never spoken. And those who imagine that God has given them an unchanging revelation which cannot be altered in any way and will not change are the victim of illusion. And Sagittarius will help us overcome that illusion of a false permanence in any type of form. And so, here we are. We consider our local cosmos system. It's sort of at the hub of the Pleiades, really. That particular cluster with 800 stars, or is it 1,000? It's something like the 1,000-petaled lotus of the one about whom naught may be said. And within that great head center, we have the zodiac, and each one of them is a petal in the heart and the head of the one about whom naught may be said. Sagittarius is that, one of them. Its energy goes connected with Orion. It's connected with the solar plexus constellation, with the sacral constellation. There's a lot of reasons to consider that our 7 solar systems are part of a solar plexus, and Sagittarius being a very 6th ray sign, so into our local cosmic logos, into our solar system, reaching Jupiter, reaching the Earth, reaching Mars, of course reaching all the planets, but those particularly, reaching every monad in Shambhala, every soul in hierarchy, and entering our personalities and our groups and all of the the usual structures, all the way from the highest sources down into our everyday life. We have to realize the magnitude of that, and giving us, in a way, the will to return, and the unifications which correlate with this will to return. We often go forth into multiplicity, but we return in increasing unity, and Sagittarius is such a sign representing the unification of many forces. So we're living in those energies for the next several days, and especially, like I say, at the 14th, early in the morning GMT, 12:05 and 29 seconds, right after midnight, and wherever you are, it'll be about an hour and a half before that, the full moon broadcast begins, so just figure out the full moon moment and in your particular location, and then subtract an hour and a half, and you can begin joining with us in the broadcast that is coming up. And where there's no vision, the people perish. And so many people are deprived of vision, of reality, not just some exaggerated fabrication. But let's imagine that Sagittarian energy coming into the places where it's most needed, where vision is most needed, going beyond the stultifying, limiting visions which people fight for and which are so untrue. Let's imagine the Sagittarian energy flowing into a place or places that you see really need that energy in a high quality way. So much vision is short-sighted and leads to objectives which have nothing to do with the plan. Let's see the power of Sagittarian vision flowing in and really leading people to the plan. People who were misled, let's see them rightly led to a vision of the plan. We'll sound the Om 3 times as we imagine this energy flowing into some of the places in the world which are excessively short-sighted. When energy can be misused or used correctly, let's always imagine the use of these energies in terms of our understanding of the divine plan. So now we will close with the great invocation and the sacred word 3 times, imagining the light, love, and power, the will, which are invoked in this invocation, flowing into humanity, strengthening its consciousness, strengthening its application of spiritual principles. You can say this aloud where you are. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Thank you, friends. Keep Sagittarius in your minds and hearts during these next 24 hours or so. And if you can, please join Tuya and me for the exact the broadcast, service meditation broadcast, which includes the exact moment of the full moon, which again is 12:05 and 29 seconds, right after midnight, Greenwich Mean Time or Universal Time. Very happy that you've been able to meditate with us, and let's just use it as a stimulus as we work towards the even greater intensity of the actual full moon. Remember, the program begins an hour and a half before the full moon. So thank you, and all the best to you. Many blessings, and we'll be working with you. All the best, and bye-bye.